Okay, so the bubbles don't actually cool the CPU, they cool the water that cools the CPU. Well, maybe. But what's important here is that we have bubbles. But anyway, let's get to the build. It starts off with this glass container from Dollar Tree. Yep, $1. Don't worry, it gets more expensive as we go. As with any build, it's vitally important that you have tons of junk strewn about to increase the probability that you find a nice copper cap like this brass and copper ladle. I guess you could just paint the cap that came with the container, but then why have all this junk, right? For the inside of the cooler, the part that will house the lights, I'm using this candle I bought at Walmart. They're about $1 and you can pick one up plastered with a sticker of your favorite deity. We'll be making an air feed coil by wrapping around the candle. If you're careful and pull as you bend the copper pipe around, you'll get a nice even bend without crimping the airway. Not too bad. I'll have to stretch into shape a little bit. I've crimped the bottom of the tubing tight. You've probably figured this out by now, but we're going to pump air into the top and down to the bottom, where I'll have some holes drilled for the air to come out. These tiny drill bits are from Harbor Freight. I'm having to use a Dremel since these bits are too small to fit in a chuck. I didn't do any calculations for the airflow. This is all just trial and error. If they're too big, I'll cut the bottom oil and try again. I haven't really explained the functionality of this cooler yet. It's sort of an inverted standard cooler since we're pushing cool air through the water instead of... Wait, that's not technically inverted, is it? So I guess we're just complicating the process to make it look cool and to make bubbles by pushing air through our cooling coil here into the coolant reservoir. Also, instead of just a pump for water, we need one for air too. After much time researching the aquarium pump selection at Walmart, I decided to get the larger of the two boxes on the shelf, which contained this. Now, the case this thing's going into, well, it's just the cheapest one I could find in about 10 minutes of searching. Needed something to throw some parts into for a video editing PC. It turned out to be well suited for this project though. There's plenty of space up front where the legacy drives would be, and 2.5-inch bays underneath that can be removed to make space for the pumps. Now it needs some matching copper plumbing. It's a little tricky to get through the elbows, but since it's close to the same size, the hose can't flatten out in the bends. Before I cut anymore, I need to get the ladle into position. Guess I should cut the handle off. I'll remove these copper rivets and use one of the holes for the air inlet. I'll do that when I get back to the shop. Now let's make some room for our pumps by removing a drive bay wall underneath. Bought a standard computer cooling water pump online. I have to feed it up behind the coolant reservoir here. The air pump lines are flexible so it can sit just about anywhere. I'll stuff it back in here. Now these can be mounted using double-sided tape or Velcro. I'm using gravity. Now let's power up the pump. Now, we don't want to deal with having to plug the air pump in separately when powering on the computer, so let's wire it right into the power supply. It takes standard 120 volt wall power, just like we're already feeding into the power supply, and it doesn't draw enough power to affect the computer cord's capacity. It should go without saying, but please make sure everything is unplugged before cutting. The air pump I bought has a standard 120 volt input. If you buy an air pump that has a power adapter at the plug, do not clip the thin cord and wire it up to your power supply. You'll definitely get smoke. Also, this may be a good time to mention that I'm not responsible for anything I have already inspired you to destroy. If I were a bit more motivated, I'd drill a hole in the outside of the power supply and install a separate switch for the pump, but I'm not. I'll be soldering these after the switch across the hot and neutral, usually black and white, coming into the power supply. Now that I think about it, it may be a good idea to have a switch in case the bubbles get to be distracting. I'll skip that for now, just to maintain my track record of not following through with good ideas. Okay, it's time to make in and out tubes for the water pump. I have them angled, pointed different directions, thinking it may cause the water to swirl and mix a little better. Okay, I need a flared section so the water tube fits tightly. Before we can attach the tubes, we need to remove the protective lacquer from our cap. I won't video the next step, but I'll be using JB Weld to hold the pipes in place. First though, we'll need to rough up the area around these holes so it bonds well. Now to make it all beautiful. You can see I've already polished the caps and coils. This has all gotten pretty grungy since I started the project. Here's a trick for polishing brass and copper. I'm using steel wool, should be more specific, grade 0000 steel wool. The more you polish, the better it looks. I'm sure there's a point of diminishing returns, but I'm too lazy to reach that. Now to the last piece of the puzzle, the backlight. I found these RGB LED strips on eBay. They're the 4-pin mainboard connector type, so I can have them controlled by the computer. You may notice that I've stuffed a plastic bag inside and wrapped the whole thing in clear tape. I'm hoping this will help diffuse the light. We just need to glue it all shut with lots and lots of hot goo. I'm not proud of what's happening here. Hopefully it'll work though. Yes, lights and bubbles. Let's get this put together. Right, here it is, all put together. The liquid bubble cooled computer. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I hope you enjoyed this project too. If you do, be sure to like and subscribe to see more. Thanks for watching.